Wow. I want to go to this. This was in my Worldview report tonight. I'll just read the transcript. The Biden-Harris administration's U.S. Food and Drug Administration has given the green light to advance a new self-amplifying mRNA injection marketed as a vaccine for bird flu. The new serum is being developed by, I hope I say it right, Arcturus Therapeutics. That's a Bill Gates-funded company specializing in mRNA-based pharmaceuticals. On Monday, the company quietly announced that the FDA approved the company's investigational new drug. Application for it is ARCT-2304. ARCT-2304 is a self-amplifying mRNA injection targeting the bird flu or avian influenza virus. What are your thoughts on this, and how concerning is it when we talk self-replicating versus what they're doing over in Japan?
You know, we were hoping this wasn't going to hit U.S. soil. The Japanese did approve a self-replicating messenger RNA vaccine for use in Japan. To my knowledge, no one's taken it so far. These are associated with astronomically high side effect rates. Here, the messenger RNA is injected, and it actually also has an enzyme with it that replicates, that allows the messenger RNA itself to replicate itself. So this is the first vaccine that would self-expand in the human body. It sounds like a science fiction movie that's gone bad. In theory, one could inject very little messenger RNA and get a big amplification. Now, there has been a clinical trial of trying to use this, injecting just in the skin alone, and it failed, and the company quietly dropped the project. But messenger RNA is bad enough.
I'm sorry, that was some audio on our end bleeding over. Go ahead, sorry.
Logan, yeah, so messenger RNA is bad enough, Brannon. I think the self-replicating messenger RNA vaccine idea is just, it's reckless. It's going to lead to harm. And, you know, I think everybody who would potentially sign up for this clinical trial ought to very carefully look at what they're potentially getting into.
And again, I don't want to confuse the audience, and I don't want to be confused, but self-replicating, how is it, I know, is that's that the mRNA in the body just keeps making more and making more and making more and making more inside the body? Or is it also like a communicable disease, it spreads to others?
No, the self-replicating means the vaccine itself has learned how to multiply itself.
Okay. But
and
is it doing so in the body, meaning that once
it's doing so?
So it keeps making that mRNA over and over and over and over. So in other words, it's going to be impossible to ever, is it impossible to clean it out of your body?
Well, right now we don't have any methods of cleaning it out. There wouldn't be any methods of stopping the replication. We don't know how many replication cycles it would have. So it's an incredibly reckless idea, Brannon, and it happens within the human body. Messenger RNA can transfer through body fluids. It transfers from the mother to the fetus. It's been found in breast milk and in lymph nodes. I mean, someone who takes this vaccine has to understand we have no idea what's going to happen once the syringe is plunged into the body.
Now that is one way it replicates, as you say, inside the body, but could be passed along with bodily fluids. But then, as we've discussed in past programs, Dr. McCullough, the Johns Hopkins, had a pamphlet, a PDF we've showed on the air of self-replicating vaccines that would spread like a communicable disease. So once someone got them, they spread. That's completely different. I mean, are they similar in any way because you have one replicating inside the body, but one that could spread from outside?
Well, they're different in the sense that the spreading vaccines, and the idea actually came from veterinary medicine, that you could vaccinate one animal and then it would spread to others. Believe it or not, the animal species that was targeted for this were bats. Bats actually harbor a lot of different diseases. So the theory is if you vaccinated a few bats and they went back to the bat cave, they would transfer the vaccine to others through salivary exchange, etc. So, but those vaccines would be specifically designed to, have easy transference from one to another. These are the types of ideas that are discussed among vaccinologists. And the sad part of this is they express no concerns over animal or human safety.
Now, we have HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to talk about now. Now, he's going to be at the HHS. How much authority will he have over with the FDA of course, here we have the Biden administration approving this on Monday, this self-replicating mRNA vaccine. How much power will RFK Jr. have at the HHS to influence the FDA to stop these kind of crazy things?
This may have been Trump's most courageous nomination so far. It's extraordinary. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., replacing Xavier Becerra as Secretary of Health and Human Services would have broad and sweeping powers over more than a dozen agencies, including the FDA. And so, he would literally be a phone call away to the director of the FDA and very likely would have careful oversight about what the FDA is doing. I just appeared on Fox News, Laura Ingraham, the last hour, and I can tell you it appears that Kennedy would make many changes in the leadership of these agencies in order to root out corruption and malfeasance and restore public trust.
Well, let's pray that happens. Over at Peter McCullough, MD.substack, Peter McCullough, MD.substack, here's an article put up today. Peer-reviewed study reveals 1,236% surge in excess cardiac arrest deaths among 2 million COVID-19 vaccinated individuals. Well, this is something I don't think you're going to hear in a lot of mainstream corporate media that's backed by the big pharma. Are you, Doctor?
No, and what we've learned is we utilize the Medic One data in Seattle. I did my residency in Seattle, so I know Medic One very well from decades ago. They're the elite paramedic unit in the United States, probably the top paramedic system, and they keep pristine data on cardiac arrests, Brandon, that happened in Seattle. So and it turns out the pandemic, Seattle was 98% vaccinated. And when the vaccines rolled out, the cardiac arrests skyrocketed and the mortality rate for the cardiac arrests skyrocketed. Meanwhile, the population of Seattle contracted a little bit through the pandemic. So it looks like the vaccines are the smoking gun. This is now fully peer reviewed in the emergency medicine literature. We've, messaged the Medic One unit in Seattle. They clearly need to do now more research to figure out, how soon these vaccines were administered and to whom. But the learning point here is it takes about 2 million people in terms of a population before we see a signal in cardiac arrests. So there have been papers saying, well, we haven't seen cardiac arrests in the NFL. Well, you need to get to about 2 million people to see the signal.
Did you say 98% of Seattle had been vaccinated with the COVID shot?
Yeah.
Oof. You're on Vigilant News. That's one of the Twitter X accounts we love to follow. Dr. Peter McCullough on the COVID jab. I've never seen something so injurious to the human body. They quote you saying, it invades the brain. It invades the heart. It causes brain and heart damage. It invades the bone marrow. It stimulates antibodies to cells and platelets. It causes blood clotting and damage to blood vessels like we've never seen. Data from the University of Pittsburgh suggests it causes cancer. Quote, since we do have a protein that actually injures the brain, injures the heart, the bone marrow, the immune system, causes blood clotting, and potentially causes cancer in a single protein, end quote. You want to comment on all this extremely disturbing data?
Yeah, you started the interview about, the word bioweapon.
Yeah.
Well, we've never seen a protein that does this much to the human body in terms of damage. Not even the staphylococcal toxin or endotoxin does this. Tetanus toxin is not this bad. This spike protein was engineered in the Wuhan Institute of Virology in a U.S.-Chinese joint collaboration. Anthony Fauci, Ralph Baric, Peter Daszak, Xingling Li, they were the 4 co-conspirators who created this monster. This spike protein is in all of our bodies now. We've had COVID. Many people have taken the vaccines. Our bodies are loaded with it. My office every day, Brannon, is chocked full of people loaded with this spike protein, heart attacks, heart failure, blood clots, the whole gamut. They come from all over the world. They fly into DFW and come to my office. I'm astounded with what I'm seeing. Fortunately, we've found an answer, and that is detoxification, the use of 3 natural products to start to clear the spike protein out of the body.
Well, you mentioned it, so I'm going to go right to it. Just go to twc.health/Brannon. twc.health/Brannon. Yeah, we have problems, but we also offer solutions. Here it is. That's what he's talking about right here. twc.health/Brannon. Spike support. This is what you're talking about, right, doctor?
That's right, Brannon. You know, we could be accused of being critical of the government and pandemic response. But, you know, you and I together and your team at Worldview Tube have brought solutions.
That's right.
That's the difference. We're raising the issues, but we're providing solutions. And that's the spirit, I believe, the new spirit that Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy are going to bring to America. I do think Kennedy will make America healthier again. He's going to bring in a team of doctors and scientists that will get this country back on track.
Do you think you're going to start seeing, because I know he did it, we've played some of the video, maybe Logan, you can find it in there to play as B-roll, but we've got video footage of RFK Jr., you know, going through a grocery store with a grocery cart. We've got him in a house, standing in a house, going through and showing, you know, different products that all of us have probably at some point consumed. I saw some of this stuff several months ago in a video, and I'm like, I'm done eating that. I'm not eating that ever again. And some of your favorite cereals as a child, right? You know, we grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons that are being advertised, and now we got these beautiful rainbow colors in these cereals. It turns out this is nothing but horrific things for people, the kids particularly, the dyes, everything that's in it. But yet some of this stuff, Dr. McCullough, is not allowed overseas in the UK. It's banned in the UK. Yeah, good job, Logan. There it is. Some of the, I love Captain Crunch. I mean, I don't eat it anymore, but I used to love that stuff. One of my kids, by the way, bought Captain Crunch a few months ago and put it in the cabinet. And I said, what is Captain Crunch doing in here? And they said, we went to the grocery store. We know you love that, Dad. I said, I do, but I don't eat that anymore. It's not good for me anymore. So, yeah, I'm known for loving my Captain Crunch, but no more. Do you think this is going to cause the companies here in America to start cleaning up their act? Is RFK Jr. going to make them do in America what they're doing in the UK and knock this stuff off?
Yeah, they will. And you know, there's some low-hanging fruit. On my Substack, Courageous Discourse, we did one on trans fats. Trans fats are the chemically engineered, partially hydrogenated soybean oil and the other seed oils that Kennedy mentions. These are so dangerous, the American Heart Association wanted them banned in 2009. The World Health Organization says they should go. And in Bloomberg in New York City, in around 2006, they banned trans fats. They use them for frying at fast foods. And, you know, heart attack rates went down in New York City. So everything's in line now for Kennedy to come in and start to make some changes. So trans fats to get out of the food supply, all these dangerous dyes in food, as an example, you know, reducing these sugar contents and reducing glyphosates or eliminating glyphosates from the food supply. Everyone knows you go to Europe, the food seems healthier. And in the United States, it's a wonderful opportunity. I think the food industry is going to get a huge kick in the butt from RFK.
That's what I want to hear. Do you think, in closing, Dr. McCullough, we're going to see people like Fauci and some of the other names you mentioned tonight, or between the recess appointment of Matt Gaetz, if that's what's necessary, so the Attorney General and RFK Jr. and these guys working together, are we going to start seeing some people prosecuted for releasing a bioweapon and other things onto the American people?
We could see it. You know, a key will be the release of all the U.S. documents about the Wuhan lab. And you know where they are right now? They're in the Office of National Intelligence. Avril Haines is still not releasing them. And this was a unanimous vote in the House more than a year ago. And the Senate wrote her and said, listen, you got to release the documents. She's not doing it. Tulsi Gabbard's going to get in there, release all the Wuhan documents. Matt Gaetz could assign a special prosecutor, and they could start to go after those who created SARS-CoV-2 and then attempted to cover up origins in the lab. And they could really get after the fraud and mass negligent homicide that's happened with the COVID-19 vaccine. So I think a justice phase will come later, but Trump is moving really at incredible speed, making these nominations. And he's turning a lot of heads by doing this, but he's doing what he said he was going to do. He's a disruptive force. We're going to see this in government. And boy, you know, strap in and just watch what's going to happen in the next 6 months.
Indeed. And then we have a headline, vaccine stocks plunge as Trump taps RFK Jr. for his HHS chief. So there you go. I want to go back to this. and I want to go to twc.health/Brannon. I want to go to the medical kits in closing because I have about 5 or 6 of these kits right here. Now, on election night, Tuesday night, Doc, you remember me, I said to Leo here on my right, I said, I'm going to do telemedicine right here with Dr. McCullough live on the air. And that was on election night, and I was so stopped up and felt horrible.
Yeah.
And you said that I have some kind of variant or something. My chest was burning like it was on fire.
Yeah.
I wasn't even coughing yet. It was just my chest for 2 days was burning. Then the coughing and the phlegm and all started later. And the headache, and the congestion. Do you know that a week ago today, I had a temperature of 103. Now, I had started on ivermectin. The night I talked to you on election night, I had started on the ivermectin and the zinc. But I didn't know if what I had would even be touched by an antibiotic, and I didn't want to waste it. I don't want to over antibiotic because when I do take it, I want it to work. So I was being kind of cautious. So on Tuesday, when I talked to you live on the air on election night, I'd taken the zinc, I was taking the ivermectin, but I wasn't taking amoxicillin. When I got off the air for radio on Thursday, I was so bad. I went to bed, couldn't even kick my shoes off. I was so bad. My wife took my temperature. She said, well, no wonder. You got a temp of 103. So she went to the closet. She pulled this out. She got the book out of it because, as you know, there's a book in here, and I guess there's like 8 meds in here. So there's more than one kind of antibiotic. And she read the symptoms, and she said, okay, the wellness company says with your symptoms, you need the antibiotic amoxicillin. So she could have started me on another one of them, but she said, no, the book says you need amoxicillin. Well, here I am a week later. I'm almost completely back to normal. But Doc, if the power grid had been down, if there had been any kind of national emergency in the country, any disruption in the just-in-time inventory, anything that was disrupting our antibiotics, and there was a slowdown of that, and I'm laying there with a temperature of 103, I said to my wife, I'm telling you, if I didn't get this and I just laid there and let nature take its course, I think I could die. I think you could die.
Well, what I think happened is I think you had the KP2 variant of Omicron, and then you developed a secondary bacterial pneumonia. And there's been papers published. People actually have died of the secondary bacterial pneumonia. So when you had the fever and you started to develop those systemic symptoms, you were going down. You were heading towards hospitalization, and your wife and the wellness kit and the guidebook that we wrote did exactly what they're supposed to do, and have you rebound. You avoided the urgent care, ER, IVs, and all of that just with one of the wellness company emergency kits. Another use case of why every household should have them.
100%. I mean, I don't like going to the doctors. Okay, I don't. And I don't know when I was last at a doctor. It could be 10 plus years since I've actually been to a doctor for a physical exam. And so I just don't go. Now, if you were my doctor in my town, I'd come to you. Or Dr. Thorpe was here in town, or Dr. Witcher was here, not all the way down in Jackson. But if it got really bad, I'd get Dr. Witcher up here. But Doc, last Thursday afternoon, when I got off the air and I had that temperature of 103, I was in such pain. My wife's like, "Where's it hurt?" I said, "Everywhere." I've never hurt. I broke my back, okay? But what I'm experiencing right now is all over the body. And I said, I feel so weak. Like I can't even take my shoes off. I'm so weak. I said, I feel like I should go to the ER. That's how bad I feel. I was laying there in so much pain. And I'm not a crier, but I was laying there in so much pain. The tears were just running down the side of my face. And I could feel how hot my tears were because of the fever. And I said to my wife, if we don't get this under control, I will have to go to the ER. And so you're reaffirming, that this was no joke. But again, folks, this is not me just selling something. Don't buy one. That's fine. Don't have one. But I'm telling you, if you don't have one or several of these in your home and something happens to your family or you and you get sick, you're not going to want to go sit in urgent care and wait for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. You're going to want to walk down the hall, get what you need, take it, and go to bed. And that's what I did. And I just stayed on it. And I took my last antibiotic last night. And God bless the wellness company is all I can say.
Thank you. Make sure you go on now and take advantage of the refill. So you used up a couple of the medications. Go on there and click refill and get those replenished.
I will do. And then I want to show this real quick, Dr. McCullough, because we've been really promoting these memberships. because if you go there to twc.health/Brannon, you can get the one Wellness Select for basically just under $10 a month, the middle one for under $50 a month, and that one includes free prescriptions for under $50 a month, or the Elite, which is $99.99 a month, and that adds in free supplements as well. I mean, this is amazing prices. I was talking to Dr. Thorpe the other day about this. Dr. Thorpe was like, I don't know how they do this because this is such a reasonable price, free subscriptions, free supplements. He was shocked at how reasonable this is.
Right. So anybody who gets one of these memberships, they can transfer their existing prescriptions into the program for the One Wellness Premier or Elite. I did it myself and for my wife, Brannon. And now the orders go to America's Pharmacy in Ohio. They're shipped out the next day. Zero copay. You don't have to go to CVS or Walgreens to pick it up. It just comes to you. And then, it's wonderful. So now it's linked to your doctor in the office or one of the wellness company doctors. This is a terrific program. It covers hundreds and hundreds of drugs. I think it blows away Mark Cuban or any of these other offers right now. And not only that, the supplements. We have so many people on the Spike Detox. And so here you go. At the higher level, Spike Detox is covered. You get free supplements.
Wow, what a deal. Well, thank you for all you're doing, Dr. McCullough. We really appreciate you and the entire team.
Thank you.
Dr. Peter McCullough checking in. Go to